to when a partnership it's time to wrap it up, then I think it's really important to know exactly what that signal is, why that matters, and why it's important to the process. If we're not doing that, then what are we talking about? Because not everything was meant to last forever. Be sure and check out the newsletter if you want to go deeper into that. Plus, the newsletter talks about exclusive things I never talk about on the channel, as well as some coaching principles and other things that might help you level up. All right. So the first big question, number one, that I often get when I'm coaching and we're talking about when, is it time to end this partnership, is frankly, when is it time to end it? I was just talking to a coaching client, might have been yesterday, and we were talking about how easy, it was actually a colleague, you know who you are if you're watching, and we were talking about how it could be so easy to begin things because things are exciting, things are new. Again, it could be on the personal side, could be on the business side, any type of partnership or collaboration, whatever. You with an organization, you with another person, you have an organization, you're collaborating with another person, any of those combinations. It's really easy to start because it's exciting and it can be fruitful and the imagination's going. It's like, yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see where it goes. Ending it, though, we tend to forget about that. We tend to forget about the follow through. We tend to forget about, oh, this is actually going to wrap up at a certain point. And to paraphrase Seth Godin, all relationships or partnerships eventually end, either when that business is getting acquired and they don't, and the business objectives change. Like again, my previous company, Cuddler, me and my two co-founders, we decided to sell it. That business was done, at least as far as our commitment to it, and therefore our partnership was done. So there's that. The business, goes out of business or gets acquired, decides to shut down shop, or one of the partners isn't involved anymore. And it could be through death, natural attrition, what have you, because we literally cannot be partners forever. So every partnership ends. What we can control is the facet and the grace as far as how that partnership ends. Knowing when it's time to end, I found it comes down to two specific things. Number one, when the mission is actually accomplished. Your business has nothing more to do. Your partnership has nothing more to do. Or number two, mission becomes different and the leaders and the partners involved don't have the same mission. When my co-founders and I sold Cuddler a few years ago, Cuddler was an app similar to Tinder or Grindr, where it allowed people to connect for hugs, tonic. And we took off. We had about 250,000 users at our peak, definitely 250,000 downloads and quite a few users. And we were on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. We're going to be in Raz on the late night talk shows and daytime things like Regis and Kelly back in the day and all those things. And so that kind of vibe. And then we decided to sell the company. Our decision to sell the company, though, was based on that moment when I was, if you've read any of the Bring Your Worth books, you probably know this story, where I was co-founder of this company at the same time that I was stay-at-home dad for my first son. And he was, from when he was around 9 months old to, I think we sold around his second birthday. So whatever that stretch is, a good 14, 15 months. In that process, I would wake up super early in the morning. Shout out to Charlie Williams. He was the other most active co-founder, as well as Jeff Kulak. Shout out to him, but he was less active. It was mostly Charlie and I towards the end. And Charlie was based in the UK. I was based in Southern California at the time. So because of that time difference, because I had my baby at home, then I'd wake up at 3:15 in the morning. And then Charlie and I would have a daily meeting, daily operation check-in around 4 a.m. So it'd be around lunchtime, his time over in the UK. And I remember waking up and going to the meeting and just looking him in the eye, and we both looked at each other. And I was like, I think we're done. And Charlie was like, yeah, I think we are. And we talked to Jeff later. He's like, yeah. And we were done because we accomplished our particular mission. Our mission particularly, we all had different ideas of it, which I'll get to in a second. I know my particular mission, which I articulated very early on with the two folks I was co-founding with, was that my mission was to move the pop cultural needle so that we could see in real time that technology could be a place of warmth. It could be a place of connection. If we go back to 2014, 2015, when we were going through this experience, that was a period of time of Facebook kind of being at the most liked. This is before Cambridge Analytica and all these other things started to come out, before presidential elections and all the chaos that came just a few years after we sold. But there was a period of time also, even though Facebook was loved and adored, I was still on Facebook. I haven't been on there in years. The Facebook idea, the Twitter, which is starting to come of age at the time. And there was a lot of discussion about how technology tended to separate people. And so people were looking at their phones and they weren't really paying attention fully to their lives around them. And I wanted to kind of, being a tech journalist, I used to write for Playboy and a lot of the major publications, and understanding technology myself, I wanted us to help prove that technology could actually be used as a way to connect people, and in this case, for physical connection. And again, we're in the cover of Wall Street Journal. Us and a couple solopreneurs were called the people that created the cuddle economy, because it was an economy based on people connecting. We are part of that. I can throw a link in the replay so you guys can see the Wall Street Journal article. But you can just look up Cuddler, CUDDLR, and WSJ for Wall Street Journal. Came out in first week of January of 2015. My whole point is we had already accomplished our mission. I knew that. I think Charlie knew that too, even if he might have had a slightly different mission. It's like, okay, we did what we were supposed to do. And so then as soon as we kind of became open about that, then, the not quite a bidding war, but a lot of companies showed interest in the community that we built. And we had already created the community that we wanted to build within that year or so time. So number one, that partnership might be done, or that business partnership might be done when you actually accomplish the mission. You actually made that impact, hopefully on yourself and particularly for the world, in the way that y'all intended on doing. It's okay to have a limit. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I haven't collaborated with the other guys since, but that collaboration for that, again, year and a half was fantastic. I would do it all again. It was great. Changed my career, and I know I had an impact on Charlie's career as well. We're able to also impact the world. So we already did what we meant to do. So there was no reason to keep the partnership going. It's kind of like, okay, let's go and get the band back together. Well, if there's a tour to do, you know what I'm saying? If there's a proverbial new album to cut, if you want to think about it from a music standpoint, and it's like, no, not really. We're good, we're cool, but there's no reason for us to work together again, because we accomplished what we're going to accomplish. So number one is that you actually accomplished the mission, and that partnership's done. We call it a limited run partnership. The second instance is when the missions actually differ. So y'all don't want the same things. I have a episode earlier this year where I talked about getting your intellectual property back. And in fact, it's in one of the suggested videos below, talking about how to have better partnerships as well as to do better contracts. So I talk property back. In the companies that I've negotiated with, and I'm a sole proprietor, I have a couple people that I work with, but pretty much I'm a solo operation. And so the books that I've done back in the day with some of the major publishing houses, some of those cases, and in most cases, if you're working with a publishing house, just like the music industry, they're going to own the masters and intellectual property, the rights to it, et cetera, et cetera. You're still going to get paid for it, but that's kind of part of the partnership. It's usually part and parcel, unless you have some negotiation. One of the things I talked about in this episode was that most of the time I was able to negotiate getting that intellectual property back when the mission of the company or the publisher that actually bought the rights to my book, that mission changed. So a lot of the books that I write are about, my earlier books were about technology and culture. hence me getting involved with Cuddler. And then the second half of my career, or the second part of my career so far, I imagine there'll be a third act soon. The last 10 years or so has been focused on a lot of the stuff that's in this book, publishing my stuff, and as well as talking specifically with y'all as a side hustler, entrepreneur, also a non-traditional entrepreneur, and helping y'all get to the next level. That's been the last decade or so. If a publisher went in and said, "Hey, I'm going to work with you, Damon, because I really like the technology book idea that you have," I'm like, "Great." We end up signing a deal. They give me an advance, which is the money they give you up front so you can finish the book, and then you start getting paid after you earn out that advance when they sell X amount of books once the book is published. Right? Really simple. As far as I'm simplifying it, I should say. I'm not going to say it's simple, but I'm simplifying it for you. Again, not a lawyer or an agent. But then what happens if the company doesn't care about technology books anymore? But you still do. Then that partnership doesn't quite make sense anymore. So it not only does the end of a partnership when you guys go in different directions, does it mark a time we have to make a decision as far as if it makes sense to continue on, because you don't want to waste each other's time, organization-wise, individually, what have you. But also, too, what parts of it actually still make sense in the mission and what parts don't make sense in the mission. So it's an opportunity for you to reflect on what matters the most to you. So I found that there's two instances when it's time to end a partnership. Number one, when the mission is accomplished. You don't have another mission on the board, particularly business-wise. It might be time to wrap it up. That's no harm, no foul. Like, okay, we did what we came to do, right? It's like coming in for an operation and then you disperse. Like Ocean's 11 or any of the Ocean's movies. They don't hang out all the time. They come in for that. And it's like, oh, we got another job. Okay. And then maybe the partnership gets revived under that aegis, my fancy word of the day. Or, which I think is way more common, is the mission actually isn't accomplished, but you and other people involved, other organizations involved, really not have the same mission. And that in itself is where I think it's a little bit more difficult. Because if you have mission accomplished, you're like, great, pat each other on the back. Hey, I'll see you when I see you. We'll get a drink sometime. But if you got different missions, one person or organization might want to go that way. You might want to go in this other direction. Once it gets to that point, then it gets, I think, a little bit more dicey. And that's what we're going to address in the next segment. If you want to go get a little more insight as far as the support that you might need legally to do this, I highly recommend LegalZoom. Again, the link is below. LegalZoom is fantastic. I've actually worked with them, so I'm talking the talk. I'm walking the walk here, not just talking the talk. So I've actually worked with them. I know they operate, and so anything from setting up a LLC to design and a partnership or what have you. One of the things I highly recommend, though, particularly if we're going to talk about ending partnerships, is that ending partnerships is a lot easier if you start from a kind and thoughtful place. What exactly are you trying to do? LegalZoom, if you're just starting your partnership now, or more importantly, if you already have a partnership and it's like a handshake, trying to shake your hand here, and it's sorry for 3D, and it's a handshake, but you haven't get the paperwork. Early on, when we launched Cuddler, it literally became an overnight success. We had 100,000 downloads within the first week, 10,000 completed cuddles, which is the interaction of people hugging each other, and we were in the late night talk shows. And I'd say within a week, I had touched base with other founders. I'm like, hey, just in case, let's go and divide up this pie. And so we spent, it ended up being almost a month. Excuse me, I think it was a handful of weeks. Definitely a few weeks. Going over how much ownership we should have of this business. And initially we came back with the numbers and we had a wide gap. And so it was some many discussions, not really intense, but enough to like, oh, okay. I think I've contributed more than that. Or another person being like, nah, that sounds a little high, or, I contribute more than that. But that discussion, but it got ironed out. 3 to 4 months later, we're on the cover of the Wall Street Journal, and about a month after that, we're like, yeah, we might want to wrap it up. 5 months after that, we're getting checks. in our respective bank accounts. What if ironed it out? LegalZoom can help you do that, whether it's having some templates, having a lawyer for hire. I have a lawyer, you know who you are. I appreciate you to support. You know, you might have a lawyer to support you, but that means you need a retainer. I learned all this stuff. You need a retainer. You need to, you're going to charge by usually by the quarter of an hour. If they're writing a letter for you, then, you know, that could be an hour, 2 hours. And, you know, I got a good lawyer. So if you're working with lawyers directly, it could easily cost you $200 to $400 an hour. I'm based in Las Vegas, so it might be a little bit higher here and on the rest of the West Coast. And of course, if you're in New York or whatever, so it might be cheaper where you are. But again, if your company might get acquired or your partnership is worth tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, God forbid, even millions of dollars, which I wish for you, but then you're going to get a $25 an hour attorney. We don't want to do that. If you're being budget conscious about it, definitely check out LegalZoom. They have a lot of setups and even maybe even some templates or frameworks that'll help you get and going to where you need to be. Another recommendation would be one of my favorite books, Crucial Conversations. I tell you, I was trying to remember if I've sat there and read the whole book from cover to cover. And you see it behind my big head. I got a lot of books back here. I got more books in my my other room with another bookcase, and I got some books and boxes and stuff like that. So I just recently moved to this office about a year ago. Stuff like that. And so I'm used to going from cover to cover. Crucial Conversations is so good just to have on your bookshelf. Crucial Conversations is the type of conversation psychologically. This is an actual psychological term where this conversation is a tipping point. This conversation will be the difference between things ending badly and things actually maybe even coming together in a better way in the future. The book itself is a collaborative process. I think there's like 6 authors. So they're walking the walk as well. Fantastic book. It was recommended to me, I'd say 2-3 decades ago. So it's a pretty old book. There's actually a newer edition that you have in links here as well as in the chat. And what I love about the book is that it simplifies what's at stake. You need to have these strong conversations. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult and it's going to be messy when you might recognize that you're going in 2 different directions. In fact, let me rephrase that. The only way you're going to know, unless it's ridiculously obvious, that you and the folks that you're partnering with have 2 different missions, or even frankly, that you even accomplished the mission. Because y'all might have thought one person might think they accomplished the mission, another person might be like, that wasn't the mission. Without those conversations, crucial conversations to me means conflict. Being willing to hear the stuff you don't want to hear. Being willing to lift up the rock or look under the rug. Being willing to address the elephant in the room. That's what you're doing as far as having a good time. And I don't mean like party, but having a good time, a thoughtful time, a nourishing time when you're evaluating your partnerships. Because if you're not having tough conversations, how do you know what's going on? As many therapists have said, people aren't mind readers. So you got to have those difficult conversations. And frankly, if you do not have difficult conversations now, you sure as hell will have difficult conversations later. So I can't even get the words in my mouth. And that's from personal experience, as you can tell. My video recommendation would be get better contracts to protect your intellectual property. Again, all the links are below. It's a video that came out, I think it was episode 421. So it probably came out a couple months ago. And it is a grand sweep. This is episode 430. So this is a grand sweep of so many moments where we had these conversations, both live and about how to handle contracts, how to negotiate properly, how to start partnerships. All that's in there. It's like a mega mix, as we used to say back in the hip hop days. And I think it'll really help you get to where you need to be. My name is Damon Brown. I'm here to help you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. I'm here with you Wednesdays live at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You subscribe for free. My latest book, the complete Bring Your Worth collection. You can go and check it out wherever fine books are sold. Oh, and I forgot to mention earlier, you can actually go ahead and listen to the audiobook, of course, through all the major platforms. The audiobook right now at bringingworth.tv after we finish hanging out. The link is below. It's my gift to y'all. That's a nice thing about owning your own publishing company. You do what you want with the content that you got. Speaking of intellectual property, I want you guys to have that kind of connection as well. All right, number two, if you realize, yeah, Damon, this partnership's a wrap. Either it's mission accomplished, or you realize that your mission with your partners is different and it doesn't make any sense anymore. How do I end it gracefully?